Good evening from WYLN TV studios in Hazleton. I'm Gary Perna. Welcome to WYLN's live general election debate for Mayor of Hazleton. Facing off this evening will be the Republican incumbent, Mayor Jeff Cassatt, and Democratic challenger, Bob Yevak. I am your moderator for this evening's debate. Asking the questions this evening from the Hazleton Standard-Speaker newspaper is managing editor Andy Heinzelman and WYLN news anchor Paula Degnan. We thank our sponsors for making this evening's debate possible. The event will be commercial-free, so it does not disrupt the flow of the debate. Each candidate will be given the opportunity for a 2-minute opening statement. Mayor Cassatt will take the first opening statement and will take the first question, while Bob Yevak will be given the final closing statement. Answers to each question will be 2 minutes in length, followed by a 1-minute rebuttal. Closing statements will be 1 minute in length per candidate. Neither of the candidates have been supplied debate questions in advance of this evening. I would like to note that this debate will be replayed 3 times prior to election night, and you can go to WYLN TV 35 social media pages for the details on those rebroadcast times, and we will show them later on at the end of the debate. So let's begin. May I introduce to you the candidates for this evening, Hazleton Mayor Jeff Cassatt and Democratic challenger Bob Yevak. We will start first with Mayor Jeff Cassatt. Mayor, you will have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Good evening. I'd like to thank WYLN, my opponent, and you, the citizens of Hazleton. Several years ago, I set out on a journey to make Hazleton a better place to live, work, and to spend time with friends and family. Everyone wants their hometown to be what it was like when we were growing up. However, that is not possible here or anywhere in the country. Times have changed. Technology has created an instant gratification mentality, and there is an idea of me first, the feel of someone owes me, I can do what I want, and someone must clean up after me attitude. Hazleton may not be the same, but it is still a great place to live. Hazleton has come a long way in the last 4 years, but we have a long way to go. The streets are safer, the property values are increasing, and the people are utilizing buildings that were once vacant. The city has benefited from over $10 million in grants. We have 42 police officers utilizing the COPS grant, and we have the highest staffing levels in the fire department since 1988 using the SAFER grant. And countless projects have improved the city and saving the citizens money. We have utilized liquid fuel money to purchase better equipment to maintain the streets and to plow our snow. We have focused on road repair, utilizing liquid fuel money, community development funds, and creating a partnership with the UGI utility company. Our parks and playgrounds are upgraded, and we have a great atmosphere with new courts and rides. We are fighting crime through environmental design, installing brighter, safe streetlights and cameras. We are currently in the Act 47 Financial Recovery Plan. That plan sets spending limits and employee limits. This program will greatly help the city of Hazleton now and in the future. This administration is committed to the safety, the infrastructure, and the recreation of Hazleton. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Bob, for your 2-minute opening statement.
Good evening. I would like to thank everyone for being here this evening and everyone watching this debate at home. I would like to thank WYLN for making tonight's debate possible. The number one issue in Hazleton is crime and your inability to combat it. And the reason I say this is because the people I talk to every day tell me that they don't feel safe to walk down their own sidewalks. A few weeks ago, we had a woman who was robbed at gunpoint in the city garage. If you go to Scranton, Drums, Allentown, or anywhere in between, everyone says the same thing about Hazleton. Don't go there. In 2016, there were 256 felonies in the city of Hazleton. Murders, rapes, burglaries, carjackings, and shootings. The FBI has named Hazleton as the #1 source for heroin and other opioids. Hazleton's reputation in the region is awful, and it's because the mayor isn't tough on crime. Mayor Cassatt, one of your own policeman's elderly mother was assaulted and left for dead at the market on 15th Street. Guess what? It was never reported to the Uniform Crimes Report. Mayor Cassatt, crime is not down, assaults are up, and you failed miserably. Mayor Cassatt says that crime is down, but the FBI says that crime is projected to go up next year. There are several other issues I plan to talk about tonight, and the mayor needs to answer these, about the budget, our blight, and the overall quality of life in our city. Our residents want to see the city improved. Lastly, they want to see a budget, which you are refusing to release till after the election. I am looking forward to addressing all of these issues tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Now we will get into our questions. Our first question will go from Paula Degnan to Mayor Cassett. Mayor, once Paula is done asking the questions, your 2 minutes will begin.
Good evening, gentlemen. The Mayor Cassett, in your opening statement, you had a lot of positives, and Mr. Yevok has brought up some of the negatives. So let's start with what you think the biggest problem the city that still needs to be tackled in the city of Hazleton, and what would you intend to do about it if reelected?
The biggest problem we have in the city of Hazleton is the overcrowding. The population right now is on the rise. We do not have the resources to combat that population growth. We can't handle the parking complaints and the code complaints that go along with it. We had a study done, 51% of all the calls that come into the city are for noise. 51% are noise complaints. We go through and we try to handle those calls accordingly. The problem is with the noise and those other problems I mentioned is the system. The system is broken. If you get a call for a complaint, you go to the house, you tell the people it's a violation. They then have 10 days to rectify it. If they don't rectify it, then we have to give a citation. The citation goes to the magistrate. That's 30 days later. You go to the magistrate's office and either they don't show up, they pay the fine, and they're still not required to fix it. That's the problem we have. The problem we have is we don't have the manpower to cover the problems, and the system is broken.
Okay. Bob, you have 1 minute to rebuttal.
Well, our city, like I've been walking our city for the last 2 months. I went to 70% of the houses. And the big deal in the city is quality of life. I'm hearing all about the quality of life. People aren't happy. What we got to do is we got to change the quality of life. We got to clean our place up. We got to make Hazleton presentable again. And in order to do that, we got a code enforcement office that is understaffed. There's only part-time people there. We got to change that. We got to invest in our code enforcement office. We got to get more code enforcement officers. We got to train them, and we got to give them a good salary. We got to invest money in their salaries. And what we got to do is we got to get them guys out on the street, going door to door, taking care of all these complaints, cleaning our city up. And with us doing that, what we'll do is we'll beautify the city, number one. We'll get them complaints and we'll get big amounts of revenue in from the fines. And what we're going to do is when we get them fines and we hit all them people up with the code officers, we're going to pursue all them fines.
Okay, I need to stop you. Your 1 minute is up. Okay, the second question will be coming from Andy, and it will be directed to Bob, and you'll have 2 minutes once he's finished asking the question.
Mr. Yevok, you spoke a lot in your introduction about crime in the city and the problems that exist. What specifically, though, would you do as mayor to reverse that trend, to stop, to limit the crime, and including those major assaults that you talked about, that kind of thing? What specifically would you do?
Well, number one, what I would do is we got almost 50 police officers. We got the best force. I'm 1,000% behind our police officers and our police force. Number one, we got to evaluate that police department. We got a part-time chief here that's working 2 different places. He's a chief in Jersey, chief in Hazleton. The morale in the department is at an all-time low. We got to get someone there that's there every day to combat this crime. That's going to be there every day to answer questions and bring the morale of our police force up. And once we do that, and all them cops know they have a guy that is right on top of everything, and he's there all the time, and he can answer all the questions, we're going to get some better responses. We're going to get more criminals. We're going to clean it up. And when the people out there that are doing all this bad stuff, when they hear, oh yeah, Hazleton, they got this chief, and he's there all the time, and he's on the street, and he's coming and taking care of us here. He's looking for us, rather. we're going to have some better things. Right now, all them people on the street are saying, yeah, they got a chief. He's here 1 day or 2 days a week. And it's just, we got to build the morale up, and we got to reassess our police department because we have all the best people.
The police force is here all the time, though. Does that, you're saying that just the chief being, possibly not being here all the time makes
Yes,
all that difference?
it makes a big difference. Not having the chief in City Hall every day of the week.
Okay. Mayor, you have 1 minute for a statement.
Well, I'm not sure where the crime stats are that Mr. Yevok came up with, but crime is down. The streets are safer. With our chief works a very unconventional schedule, just like criminals do. You know, the chief may not be here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but either are the criminals. The chief comes to work Saturday night, Sunday night. That's when our call volume comes in. The highest call volume we have is Sunday night, from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. The chief is here for those nights. The position of the chief of police is mostly administrative. He's supposed to be more writing grants and putting policy in place. So I don't see where the problem comes in with what schedule the chief is here and when he's not.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. The next question will be from Paula to Bob Yevak, and you'll have 2 minutes to say. Paula?
Mr. Yevak. Yes. Talking about quality of life and improvements of quality of life and fixing roads. Is it good? Is it bad? Will it affect the quality of life? And do you think that you can take the community development block grant money and use that in order to fix the roads? Does it all work together?
Well, I'm going to tell you, like I told you before, I walk 70% of the houses in Hazleton. I'm going up and down our streets where people had double houses. And what they did is, you have a double house, you have an older lady or guy that their husband or wife died, they're there by themselves, and all they have is that little half a double house. And what's happening is, you look next door, someone moved in, there's 9 names on the mailbox, garbage all over the porch, the little old lady's crying to me, I can't even go in my backyard in the summer, go look back there. I went in a lot of backyards. Quality life is a big deal. Potholes, the people don't care about potholes. They want to walk their streets. They want to be out in the summer walking. They want a better quality of life. And what we could do is, yes, we could use that block grant money. We can get more code enforcement officers, pay them a decent salary that's right, that they'll want to be there in City Hall on their job, and they'll want to go out there, and we put all this stuff to sleep. That's what we got to do.
Okay. Jeff, you'll have 1 minute.
I'm not sure how this question veered off, but the roads, community development money, next year we have committed $416,000 or 76% of the block grant to infrastructure and road condition. Community development money cannot be used for code enforcement. The problem we have with code enforcement is the union contract. Any person that starts in the City Hall union, which code is part of, starts at $20,000. I can't hire them. It's a very dangerous job. We spend money training, they leave for better paying jobs. It's not that we don't know what the problem is. We know the union refuses to negotiate. I increased the salary for the code enforcement officers. The union took me to court. I lost. I had to cut it back down to $20,000. We now have 2 code enforcement officers.
Okay. The next question will be from Andy to Mayor Cassatt.
How does Hazleton get out of Act 47? What do you envision as the road out of that financially distressed program, and how soon can that happen? Can we meet the 5-year timeline for that to happen?
Well, we will be out of it within 5 years. We're on path. The only reason we had to go into Act 47 is because we were on the verge of missing the last payroll of 2017. If you miss a payroll, you're automatically in. We wouldn't have been able to get the help. I entered Act 47, got the grant, took care of the last payroll, we entered it, we're doing fine. All we have to do is follow that plan. The plan sets forth our spending per department, and the staffing levels at each department. We can't just go hire officers, we can't hire code enforcement officers. We are set by the plan which number of employees could go or dedicated to that department and how much we could spend there.
Can you explain a little bit? The city was able to get some low interest loan financing to pay off debt and so forth, but how does that financial standing continue? Like what's new in Hazleton's financial picture as far as revenue that's going to keep us from falling back into that same
Well, the
hole?
problem we had was we were rolling over debt every year. We had over $1 million in debt that was rolling over. So we were using revenue from January and February to pay November and December bills. So we were rolling that debt over and over. We now took the $1 million loan, low interest, and built that into debt service. So now we are starting on a level playing field every year. And if we follow the plan, everything should go according and should be out right on time, 3.5 years from now.
Okay. Bob?
Well, what happened is, naturally, we're in Act 47, and our big thing is to get out of it. I've been meeting with a city councilman every week. We've been sitting down talking about it. I'm trying to stay on top of this stuff. I'm not privy to all these figures and what's going on in City Hall, but I'll get there in January, and I'll see, and I'll work ourselves out of it. But isn't it true, Mayor, that they were selling delinquent taxes? You could have got $400,000 for the delinquent taxes from a firm up in Wilkes-Barre. What you did, you made a deal with your local guy, one of the local guys with the tax service, a revenue department, and you got $150,000. And right after that, we went into Act 47. We'd never be there.
I'd like to address that because, first of all, selling our delinquent taxes cost the city $83,000 per year. It's like a payday loan. You're always going forward using your money. We stopped the selling of delinquent taxes. We didn't sell them off to any revenue service, and we are now collecting the additional revenue and on track. We get 100% of that plus the extra money that comes in.
Okay. The next question is from Paula, and it's addressed to Mayor Cassatt.
And since you brought up council, mayor and council work together. And the question is, do you work together effectively enough? And what else, if anything, needs to be done in order to operate differently? Mayor, you're obviously in the midst of it right now.
Well, my first 2 years were truly a nightmare with council totally against me. We struggled through everything. We got fake budgets, terrible spending program, and unrecognizable revenues. I really looked forward to my second half of the second term, or council's new term coming in. It was better, but we still didn't have that functionality that we needed. We were hoping to have more work sessions together to be able to plan ordinances coming up and work on generating new revenues and that. However, that didn't come to fruition as we had all hoped so. So I'm really looking forward to next year. I think there'll be changes again in council. The previous, there was 3 new council people put in. This year there'll be 2 new council put in. So the entire council from 2016 will be gone. And now I think we can really move the city forward.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Bob, you have 1 minute.
Let me tell you, I'm a people's person. And Democrats, Republicans on city council, I'm a Democrat in the election. That means nothing. I will work with every council, man or woman, and what I'll do is my door is going to be open. And you know how they meet once a month with council now? We're going to meet all the time. My council people are going to be invited into the office anytime they want. I will be so transparent. They will know everything that's going on. I will hold no one in the dark. And we're going to have a ton of council meetings with all council, Democrats, Republicans. Everyone on council is going to have a big voice with the mayor.
Okay, Bob, thank you very much. The next question is from Andy, and it's posed to Mr. Yavak.
I wanted to go back to the police issue, the police chief issue. You had told the Standard Speaker editorial board, and you alluded to it a while ago, that you thought the situation with the chief was ridiculous, and you've spoke out against it. But what would be your first move as far as if you're elected? I mean, would you want to talk to the chief, find out exactly when and how much he works, or would you demand change? What would be your approach?
What I would do, I want to just put this up. There's an article in the New Jersey paper here, right? It's been in the paper in Jersey. There's interviews here with the mayor talking about it, and he's quoting in here. He probably works here a couple days a week. They don't know when he works. He's on his own schedule. We could not do this. And it's all here in black and white in an interview with the mayor and all the other people in City Hall. That can't happen. We got to sit down. We got to evaluate it. I will evaluate it, and I will talk to him first thing. And what's your plans? Are you going to be the chief down in Jersey? Or you want to be the chief in Hazleton? Or you just want to make $200,000 part-time? And if that, I will find the right answer to that. I will make our police force the right force, a strong force, and we will clean our city of Hazleton up.
Do you know what the right answer is, though? Will you demand that he choose to be here full-time.
Well, I want to like find out what kind of deals made here. But I mean, if the situation is, well, I could only be here a couple of days, I'm going to do what I have to do. Get another strong guy in there that could take care of our city, that's going to be respected, and he's going to be really strong on crime. And if that means getting rid of a guy, we're going to get rid of him. Anybody that doesn't want to play ball or can help make our city better, I don't need them.
Okay. Mayor, you have 1 minute.
Well, that's not really a question to me. I plan on keeping my chief. My whole department is doing wonderful things. Like I said, the salary that the chief gets is just above the starting salary for a base patrolman. If he's here 2 days, 2 nights, 3 days, 1 night, it doesn't matter. He's here for every major incident. When there's an event going on in Hazleton, we readjust the schedule. So he might not work Monday through Friday this week. He may work Monday, Tuesday, come in Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He'll be working today. There's a big event this weekend coming up. He'll be here. He'll be here all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So the schedule is flip-flopped. He gets our hours. If anybody really wants to know when he's here, you can call the 911 center and get the right to know request on his call-ins. They'll tell you when he's here. He has to check in. He checks out. There's no question of if he puts his hours in. It might not be a conventional schedule, but it works, and it's been working.
Okay. Could you tell the citizens what that salary is?
It's right around $71,000. The base salary for a police officer, a patrolman, is $67,000.
Okay.
If I could follow up, what would it be if it was I don't want to say he's not a full-time chief, but what would the circumstances be for maybe a different situation where the chief is not splitting time?
The average salary in this region of Pennsylvania is about $130,000 for a chief of a third-class city.
Okay.
And Bob, I'll just award you 20 seconds. Do you have anything to add into this subject, or do you want to move on?
No, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to evaluate our police department, because right now our police department is the biggest part of Hazleton and what we have to do to make our city good again.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. And we're now going to move on. Our next question will be from Paula, and it'll be directed to Mr. Evac.
Talking about the city of Hazleton, there is a thriving Hispanic community. And do you see the bridges that are needed to be built to the Hispanic community? And what would you suggest be done further in order to build those bridges to that community?
I want to address that question by, if you go to the right of this place here, right here, there's a Little League stadium called Coryell Stadium. I was the president of that organization 40 years. I built that whole complex for the kids with my bare hands. I raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for it, right? Back in the day when the Hispanics started coming in, there was a Spanish guy, a milk cart, and you all know him. He came to me, he said, Bobby, the Spanish kids want to play baseball. They were going to form their own league. And when I heard they were going to form their own league, I told the milk cart, look, I only know you a couple of weeks. We're not letting that happen. We're going to integrate everybody, have them all up Coryell Field. And what I did is, I went out there, I came on this TV station, I went on all the other TV stations, I got the Hispanic community together, I got them all involved in the Little League program. When I started with the Little League program, we had 100 kids. When I got done 7 years ago, we had over 500 kids. 70% of our Little League program is Hispanic people. So I know how to get them people together.
Thank you. Mayor, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, I agree. It's through recreation. People will integrate together for a common goal. Kids love to play together, and that's why it was so important to me to redo all the playgrounds, the parks, the playgrounds, to create atmospheres where kids could play together. I also have a very open door policy. I hired several bilingual people to work in City Hall. I have a new receptionist that's bilingual, so people are more welcome to come to City Hall. They talk, she comes down. We created the phone line that goes directly to a bilingual person. So the gap is getting bridged, and I think the community is in much better shape.
Okay. Thank you. The next question will come from Andy, and it will go to Mayor Cassatt.
There are, I think, some 13,000 people who work at Humboldt, and of course, thousands more at other local distribution centers and at Valmont and so forth. Does the city need maybe more public transportation or some way to connect city residents with those job opportunities?
Well, our transit department works hand in hand with the Humboldt and Valmont. Our buses go all the way up to Wilkes-Barre. They go all the way down to McAdoo. So our bus system is very focused on jobs. That was one of the first questions that was asked when the new plant was looking to develop on 309. Can I help them get busing? We showed them bus routes how we can. When there was an issue up in the Heights area with schooling, getting kids, they wanted kids, we rearranged a bus route so that the kids could get on the transportation and get them closer to the schools. We work all the time to get people where they need to be. We have a flag down system. There's no bus stops. You stand along the route, you wave, and we stop and pick you up. So we're very hand in hand with all those organizations.
It is working then? I mean, you said
Yes.
there's not a problem with people calling or that aren't aware of that? Or
We also have the little vans that you could call and get a ride if you need a specific ride to a place.
Okay.
Mayor, thank you. Bob, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, as far as that situation, I got several businesses in Hazleton, and one's an auto detailing business. And I'm like really tight with the Hispanic community, and they got all kind of services with 15 passenger vans. I'm the go-to guy. They all come to my place to get the insides of the vans taken care of by my guys and that. And these guys, I deal with everybody in Humboldt. I deal with all the big shots. We do all their cars. I'm in and out of there all the time. And what happens is, in Humboldt, all them big plants, they gave these guys contracts with these vans, these Hispanic people, where they're picking 40, 50 guys up every day. They got contracts right with the plants itself, so them people have no problem getting to work. So, and there's like 30, 40 of them vans, customers that I have, separate businesses that I do. So getting transported to Humboldt is not a problem for them people.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The next question will come from Paula, and it'll be directed to Mayor Cassatt first.
Mayor, Mr. Yevak brought up the word transparency, and wondering what your definition is of political transparency, and do you think that the mayor's office requires more transparency in your administration as far as it's gone?
I don't think anybody can be more transparent than I am. I mean, my door's open. I'm there every day. I'm available. Text. I put my phone number out there on the front page of the paper. I have 3 different Facebook accounts. People message me all the time. I have the bilingual person that monitors the one page, so if somebody has a question. I invite council to come in. I try to set up meetings with them. I'm very transparent. We share more information on the web than anybody. So I don't see how it could be more transparent than it currently is.
Okay. Bob, you'll have 1 minute.
Like I told you before, guys, I'm a people person. I will be so transparent. Every councilwoman, every councilman, every citizen. City Hall is going to be the people's house with Yevak, and they're going to be welcome anytime to answer any kind of question. I will have town hall meetings like they do on television in every other state. We're going to do that in Hazleton. We're going to do it every month. I'm going to have all the citizens, whoever wants to come. We're going to be transparent. We're going to get things done.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next question will come from Andy, and it'll be directed to Mr. Yevak first.
We talked a little bit about, you talked a little bit about your involvement with the youth at the baseball complex over here, and I know Mayor Cassatt had mentioned some of the park improvements and so forth. What else do you think needs done, Mr. Yevak, in terms of engaging youth from throughout the community and sort of building a more promising future for them in the city through recreation and through things like that? Do you have specific plans for that?
Yes, what we got to do is, when you talk about playgrounds and baseball fields are the utmost importance to us with our youth, right? What we got to do, though, is we got to bring the programs back. Like in City Hall, there's a recreation department, and through the years, when I was involved with the kids up here, they used to have programs at every playground. All summer, every playground, there were programs there for the summer, the whole summer. We would get a grant of money that would take care of bringing college kids in to work with all these kids. That all stopped. We got to bring that stuff back where we have kids sitting at the picnic table with 10 young kids there, showing them what goes on, and like having programs to bring all them people together at every playground. And what we got to do with playgrounds is, we got a lot of playgrounds in Hazleton. We got to treat every playground equal. We can't get one playground on one side of town and go put $300,000 in it, and then on the south side of town, you got a playground like the Columbus playground. There was nothing done to it. We got to make it all equal for everybody and like work on each one and make it appealing to all our kids.
Okay. Mayor, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, we did start the program. 2016, that was the first thing I did. I brought Joe Zeller back, who was the recreation director back in the 90s when those programs were really big. We started those summer programs. It's not at every playground anymore because of the volume of kids, but it rotates. So 1 week we're at Alt Miller, the next week we're at Beach Street, and it rotated all summer long. We also had basketball clinics, free to the children. They came in, we taught basketball. I worked with the Hispanic Baseball League. They have to have an after school or afternoon baseball program, 5 days a week from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock down at Columbus Park. The thing with the playgrounds being utilized, the money is the community development low mod areas. We can't spend community development money in certain playgrounds. We would love to. I mean, Alt Miller was put the $300,000 into it. A lot of it was a DCNR grant. So the playgrounds are divided by territorial.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next question will come from Paula, and it will be directed to Mr. Yvak.
Well, we're just about a half hour through. We can breathe a little bit. And everything that we've been talking about, we've talked about a lot of the negative. And when you're in a city, obviously there have to be negatives, but there also have to be a lot of positives. And Mr. Yvak, you mentioned the fact that you have businesses in the area, that you know a lot of people in the area, you're a people person. So what are some of the positives that you are seeing right now in this area? And what would you do in order to not only keep the positives that we have, but also expand upon them and be able to bring in more positives to the area?
Well, like the positives, like the administrations in the last 8 years, I would say they did some nice things, to the playgrounds and to some parks in Hazleton, and I would just expand on that, and I would put them in the spotlight, all them good things that have been happening, and like just expand on that stuff, bringing people together with that, and like letting them know what good things we have in Hazleton, like our stadium over here. We got one of the best stadiums, in the state, and things like that. Like you just go out there and talk about it, and that would come back to like town hall meetings, where we can get them people in to City Hall and we could talk about the good things. How can we make them a little better? We got, tell us what's going and what's good and how can we make that stuff better? And that's the best way, just talking to the people.
If I could follow up, I think you had mentioned in the standard speaker sit down about raising money for these kind of things. You just said you'd like to expand the parks, expand the programs and so forth, but as we know, anything that a city does is going to cost money. Well, how do you fund those things?
Well, like you talk about raising money, like what happens is I'm involved down in Jim Thorpe with the Opera House. I'm the president of the Jim Thorpe Historic Society, the Opera House down there, and what happened was it was a nice house with entertainment that was like having a bad time. I went down there, I got involved, and I just happened to go to see a couple shows. What I did is I got involved with it. I ended up being the president of the whole organization. I took it to, it's doing like fantastic now. We raised all kind of money. I went to different senators. We got different kind of grants, small grants and that to help us out with it. Then we got the entertainment. We start helping like nonprofit organizations down there where we do a show for them, give some money back. In fact, I was just putting a show together for our museum downtown. Our museum downtown was having trouble, so I had a group going to come up from Jim Thorpe, do a show down at high school. I had everything set up and that, and that's how we were going to raise money, and it was going to be all money for the museum. I was big in fundraisers, like through the Little League program over there for 40 years, I raised hundreds of thousands of dollars like over them years. And I lighted the fields, built the fields. I mean, I got a lot done with that. I'm aggressive.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor, you'll have 1 minute, again, building on the positives in the city of Hazleton.
Well, I think one of the big positive things we just did was create an agreement with the UGI. We got $500,000 from them. At the very end of this year, I was able to pave 7 roads. An agreement like that, instead of having checkerboards all over, we will now see that money. We could fix the streets completely curb to curb. If not down the middle, we curb to curb. Again, the parks and playgrounds are great. property values are going through the roofs, especially multifamily homes. City View Park, there's an RFP coming out to put 3 more pavilions up there. We've been using that for big events such as the fireworks. We want to create Christmas in the park. We want to do an October Harvest Fest theme. And then we introduced today, the City of Hazleton joined the Swift 911. It's an app on your phone to share emergency information through the county's Swift 911 center. So there's a lot of good things that are happening in the city right now.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. The next question will come from Andy, and it will be directed to Mayor Cassatt.
You just referenced the property values going up, and it's kind of tied to, that's a good thing, obviously, but it's sort of tied to the overcrowding, I think. How do you, how can the city, your administration, council work to, take advantage of that or make the most of that?
Well, the property values are going up. We benefit from the transfer tax. A lot of the properties that are being sold have liens. We've been putting liens on properties. So we're recognizing those liens on closing. The problem is a lot of these houses are being converted into smaller multifamily homes. What we need from City Council is to change the rental registration and rental inspection ordinance. We can't just walk into somebody's house and inspect it. We need the right to get inside the house. That's when I came into office, I put the fire department in charge of the code department because they have the easiest access inside these. We're going to these places and with the fire department, and we're seeing padlocks on doors, people renting rooms, renting basements, renting attics. They're the things that we need to stop. It's dangerous. Not only is it violate the zoning laws, it's dangerous when people are padlocked into rooms.
Have you presented an ordinance that would address that to City Council?
We talked about it at several work sessions. It's a very detailed. A lot of it has to do with, again, violating somebody's due process, the right of entry. So it's a very touchy ordinance, but we will be working on it again shortly.
Yeah. Any time frame of? Does it depend on the construction of council?
I'm going to say in January there's going to be a lot of new things, or things that will be re-brought up again when the new council comes in.
Okay. All right, but you're confident in the ordinance as it's presented or as it's been drafted to this point, or?
We need to have more teeth than the ordinance that is currently in place.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Bob, you'll have 1 minute to respond to that.
Well, what we got to do is, I got to say that I agree with changing the ordinance, because if you go through Hazleton, 5 people or under is called shared living in a house. And I would just walk through 70%, I say it again, of the houses in Hazleton. And walking up the street, every house has 9 names on the mailbox. Every house has 9 names on the mailbox. I've seen apartment buildings with 36 names in 4 units. And it's like plain as day on the box, like nobody's like worried about how they're doing it or what's going on. But we got to go address that. We got to change the ordinances to fix that, and let's get it back to the shared living ordinance with 5 people or under. But we got to police that. The big deal is policing it, and we can't police it unless we get more code guys going to them doors.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. The next question will come from Paula, and it'll be directed to Mayor Cassatt.
Mayor, one of the things that Mr. Yevok was talking about was the idea of raising money, fundraisers, different things like that. Obviously, in a city, as Andy had said before, coming up with the money is always a difficult task, especially when people ask you questions about how can you do this, how can you do that. And I'm sure that there must have been some time during your current administration when maybe just sitting back with your feet propped up, you thought, I wonder if that would work. Have you ever thought of, or has anyone approached you with any kind of out-of-the-box ways in order to, as Mr. Yevok said, he was doing fundraising, and in a city that's kind of difficult. But is there anything out of the box?
Well, out of the box was, obviously going through the Water Authority to ask for money for equipment to fund the police department. That was, 4 years now we've been doing that. We do ask for donations for city events, fireworks, Christmas, those types of events. We do go out. I believe it was 2017 where I held the downtown, we held an Oktoberfest. You know, during the afternoon, it was for children, pumpkin patch and everything like that. And that was to raise money. We had bands selling food, things like that we did, hold fundraisers. You know, one year was really good, the next year it wasn't so good. So again, it's hard to judge them. It's like being in business. You know, it's really hard to promote and get people to come to something when there's other stuff going on throughout the municipality or the area.
So again, more of a fundraiser type of a thing, more of a community type of a thing. Do you foresee any ways to get any other kind of grants, anything else that you haven't tried yet?
My administration has gotten over $10 million in grants. I mean, we apply for every grant there is. You know, both of my chiefs are incredible at getting grants. You know, we got 2 cops funded through the COPS grant. We got 3 firefighters through the SAFER grant. We got, I think, 32 vehicles we picked up without spending 1 cent of property tax money. So I mean, we get all the free money we can get, I go after, and we've been very successful at that.
Okay.
Mayor, thank you. Mr. Yvek, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, like I told you, I've been doing fundraisers for like over 40 years. I've been doing all kinds. In fact, I was just put on the board of directors over at the Eckley Miners Museum, and they're having a hard time. All state things are like cut down, and they're having a hard time keeping it open. This past summer, what I did is, Bobby, we need $5,000. I went over there, I set up a car show for them. It was the first they ever had over there in Eckley. I had it set up in all the old houses. We made a bunch of money. After that, we still needed money. I went looking to see where there was where there's organizations that would help us with that. I found the first federal charitable organization that gave me money all the time in Little League. I went to them. I went to their board of directors. Yesterday I got $7,500 for Eckley. I got $15,000 for Jim Thorpe for the Opera House. So they gave me 2 grants because I went there and I approached them and I did the right thing. I was down the Opera House. This is like 10 months ago, and Senator Udicek from the area was down there at a show. I looked at the guys, and I said to them, the 2 promoters, I said, there's the guy. We got to go get him. I went over to Senator Udicek. I said, Senator, I said, after this show's over, I said, I'd like to take you down the street. I'm going to give you some free tickets to some shows. We're going to go down the street and talk. I ended up getting a gaming grant, $230,000. We just got it to put air conditioning in the whole building. I'm aggressive to go after people.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question will be coming from Andy, and it'll be directed to Mr. Yvek first.
I wanted to go back to the code enforcement. I think we've established that as one of the main issues with the city, the main concerns. But to the mayor's point, he was defeated in court in trying to raise the starting salary for code enforcement officers. There's an Act 47 plan that limits what the current city council can do and the administration can do in terms of spending, in terms of hiring. So it sounds good. It sounds easy. We need more code enforcement. Go out and knock on these doors and get the grass cut and break up the large numbers of people living there. But you're going to probably need more than that because it sounds like it's going to be a tough road to hoe to make any changes there. What else do you have in mind to be able to improve code enforcement?
Here's what I'm going to do. When I was in the 70s, I worked at the Hazleton City Water Authority for 14 years there. I was the president of the union for that 14 years. I went in there, I negotiated, and in 14 years I negotiated 3 contracts for all the water company up there. I went in there, we worked things out, and we sat by the table, and we were able to come up with some good things. When you go to the union, you could talk to their members, and you could make things happen. I've been there, I've done that. Like I said, 14 years of it, right? And we're going to do that. The only salvation we have for the code department is to restructure it, get a bunch of good guys, pay them the right kind of salary, and get them out on the street, and let's make our city beautiful. And as we're making our city beautiful, they'll bring revenue, they'll pay for them salaries, and things will go right. I could talk to them union reps.
So the problem at this point is, because I'm sure anyone on city council right now or the mayor that's standing beside you would like to fix those problems right now too. I mean, who wouldn't? We all care about the city. But you're saying your approach will work, whereas theirs maybe has not.
I will approach the union representatives. I dealt with them lawyers down there with the water company and that, and we always got something done, always.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, 1 minute.
Well, the problem with the City Hall Union is that it's made up of every job that's not police, fire, or streets. So you're talking code enforcement, parking enforcement, administrative, clerks in the police department, windows. Everybody's under one group, and trying to get a higher salary for one isn't going over because they don't want to negotiate that. I tried. I tried to give them $28,000 compared to $20,000. They didn't want it. They don't want to help. They don't want to contribute healthcare. They're afraid to negotiate because I got commitments from DPW for healthcare contributions. I'm in the middle of the police to contract. They're going to give healthcare contributions. The City Hall Union does not want to give healthcare contributions, and that's why they have not. Their contract expired December 31st of 2016. I filed an unfair labor practice against them to force them to go to court. We missed it by several days. It's thrown out. We could not do that. We went to court. I lost. We're trying to hire people. We know where the problems are in the code office. We just can't get the people to come and work for $20,000.
Okay, that's your 1 minute. The next question will be from Paula, and it's directed to Mr. Yvak.
Mr. Yvak, as far as bringing new businesses to the city, what would you do? And obviously you have some that you can use as examples.
Well, what I would do is, like, if we start out, we take on the southern beltway of Hazleton. We own a lot of land up there. And there's a developer named Bob Miracle. He's like monstrous all over, and he's developing the opposite side of the beltway. And what I did is I met with one of his people the other day, and we talked it out, and he's going to get me hooked up with Mr. Miracle to see maybe we could do something up there on that southern beltway with the land that we have up there for Hazleton. Maybe we can get a real developer in there to start doing some good things. I mean, that's as far as I could go without being privy to what's in City Hall right now. I also talked to another local guy that has an idea. He has a big trucking company in that, and he said, I could do something up there like really big up there, and we could talk about it. I said, look, I got to get elected first. When I get elected, you and I are going to sit by the table. We're going to make a deal.
Okay, Mayor, you have a minute.
Okay, well, first, the city does not own any property, let alone on the Beltway. The only property we have near the Beltway is the City View Park, which is deeded for recreation only. We cannot use that for anything else except recreation. The city does not own any property that's usable for any manufacturing or any kind of big job. We own parking lots, playgrounds, parks, and buildings. That's it. We do not own any other vacant property within the city. We need to become more business friendly. There's a lot of people that want to open businesses. It's very difficult. The UCC and the International Property Maintenance Code make it very hard for somebody to open a new place. We're trying to utilize old vacant buildings, but the codes are so hard to change those buildings over. That's not our fault. We can't help that. All we could do is help the businesses that are there and offer them parking. I offered businesses parking spaces in front of their businesses, at a reasonable rate to help. Parking and location are the two keys to a prosperous business. They're the two things that we need to help.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The next question will come from Andy and will be directed to Mayor Cassatt first.
I was interested in your comment about negotiating the contracts to get healthcare contributions for the unions. Can you detail that for residents, what you guys hope to do there, or what you're asking for out of the unions?
Well, right now, certain unions, like one union pays, some people pay $10, some pay $20, some pay $30 per pay period. When I negotiated the DPW contract, they were very willing to help the city. We started at 7%, 8%, 9%. I think it ends at 10%. My administration, we all chip in 10% of health care. There's certain other unions that pay $10 per pay period, $10, $20 per month. It's very hard when a family plan is $29,000. We're spending almost $3 million a year in health care. It's extremely hard. I renegotiated last year. We saved a couple $100,000. We're working now to try to get the unions to agree to higher deductibles to save us a little bit more money. The health care cost and the pension are killing the city of Hazleton.
Okay, Mr. Yvak, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, I can't really answer that question because I'm not privy to any of them facts. But, when I get in City Hall in January, I'll surround myself with the good people we have, all the good administrators. We're going to take a good, hard look at all that stuff, and we're going to make some serious decisions to move the city forward.
Okay, our next question is going to be from Paula, and it's directed to Mayor Cassatt first.
Mayor Cassatt, when you have been now the mayor of Hazleton and you see the people in the city, and one of the things that most cities hope to do is to retain the people. and that includes the young people. Sometimes it's very difficult. So from your office going forward, do you see any way of incorporating things for the young people? And when I say young people, I mean the young teens, the people, maybe they're not going to go away to college, maybe they're going to stay here, but they have to have something to do, something to entertain. Do you see anything like that?
Well, it's very difficult. I mean, we're never going to be Tech Valley.
Right.
That kind of industry is never going to come here. This is the coal mine region. It's hard workers. When we start building more infrastructure and plants coming in, they're the job. Manufacturing jobs are what's going to be here. Maybe contracting, building. The professional organizations. Plumbing, electrical. That's the kind of jobs that are going to be here. A lot of most of our businesses are family, self-employed. They're the businesses that are going to be here, and they're the ones that need to thrive off the population growth. But as I said, those big tech jobs aren't going to be here. Maybe if you go into the medical field, you'll be able to, with the hospital network expanding. Lehigh Valley Hospital is spending millions of dollars to expand and stay in the city of Hazleton. So depending on what education you're going for and which career you're looking for, really depends on whether or not people are going to come back after school or not.
Okay. Mr. Yavek, you have 1 minute.
I was fortunate to have a son and daughter in Hazleton, and they got great educations, and one moved to Boston, one moved to Philadelphia. Our kids at college levels like that are doing good are not staying in Hazleton for no reason at all. What we got to do is, this comes back to the school district. You would have to, and it's not our call to do this as a city, but we would have to talk to people in the school district where they would have to get more people in school, kids that you see they don't have the real learning ability to be college minded, and get the vocational program going better down in Hazleton High School down there, where we get our kids as they're young, put them in trades. If we get them in trades like that, by the time they're coming out of school, they don't have the money for college. They went for that trade. They're getting with a plumber or electrician in Hazleton. They're staying in Hazleton as tradesmen. And we could use thousands and thousands of them. So the only thing we could do there is get the school directors together and talk about that, where the school administrators in the high school and that could get these kids and fill the VOTEC up more. That's the only way you could do that. Because my kids, like I said, they just bailed out. They got great jobs out of town.
Okay.
So if I may?
Go ahead.
What if we take it back a little bit and go
Right.
to the teenagers? Because that's, and that in this area and in so many areas, teenagers are so vulnerable. Do you see in your administration maybe starting something that would get teens? I mean, when we all grew up, we had stories to tell of places we went and things like that. Do you see anything in your administration that might be able to go toward that group?
Well, if you talk teens like that, like we're saying, when we were young like that, we had the canteen down the Y where we had dances on Wednesday nights and Friday nights, places to go like that. You don't see any of that stuff into Hazleton. But if you think about it, I did the Little League program with 120 volunteers. We took care of 500 kids with 120 volunteers. We could form volunteer programs. And we could use an auditorium in this school to have a dance and get things like that going, where they're off the street, they're not thinking about that bad dope stuff and everything, and they're meeting girlfriends and that. We could do things like that. It would take a lot of hard work to do it, but it's not impossible, because we all had that when we were kids, and it all worked. It all worked for all of us.
Mayor, would you consider that if you're reelected?
Well, it's a different atmosphere now. It's not, like I said before, technology kind of changed the world. Everybody wants instant gratification. They want to fit in. It's easier to sit home, play video games with a kid cross country, stay on Facebook or Snapchat and talk to people. People aren't as social as they used to be. And the city is not in the entertainment business. It's not our job to have places for people to go. We're supposed to promote businesses that want to come here to do those things, but it's not the city's job to create the gathering for profit kind of events.
Okay. We're going to move on. And this question has come from Andy, and it's going to be directed to Mr. Yavek first.
I'm relatively new to Hazleton. You guys both here all your life. I see positives out there that we don't hear a lot about, and that's maybe partly our fault here as far as the news. But what's your sales pitch to somebody to, maybe a new business or a young family to come to Hazleton? What are the positives that you list for them?
Well, I'll be real honest with that question. There's not a lot of positives to offer them till we clean the city up and give everybody a better quality of life. There's not a lot of good things to say to them, like about coming to Hazleton. Like you take out in Humboldt, they have all them plants out there and warehouses and stuff, right? If you think about it, we got most of them living down the valley, and they're living on the outskirts and that, right? If we cleaned Hazleton up, like if you take the organization out there where you would go into Humboldt out there, it was a big stripping mine. And what they did is they built some hotels, they cleaned it up, they made it viable to all the people that came in. They look at how neat that is, right? If we went and we got people like that and we cleaned our city up and we could offer them, show them our city's clean, our city's safe, crime is down. That's what they want to hear. We could have a good quality of life, and they come in flocks. I mean, think about it. It's just common sense.
Okay, Mayor, you have 1 minute.
Okay, the businesses would benefit from the workforce being here. We have a lot of population. The workforce is here. They want to work. The cost of living is very reasonable compared to other places. We have great transportation to move workers in and out of work. And there's the people are there that to spend money in your business. We have a high population and a very high dense population. So if you open a small local business, the people are there in walking distance. There's a lot of good opportunities for business in Hazleton.
All right, gentlemen, that was our last question. We are going to prepare for closing statements. As stated earlier, Mayor Cassatt, you will get the first closing statement, and you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'd like to thank WYLN for inviting us to come answer questions. I'd like to thank my opponent for the opportunity to speak with you. The city of Hazleton is a great place to live. We all love Hazleton. We all want the best for Hazleton, and we all want to see it get better. We all know what the issues in Hazleton are. We have a growing population with no room to expand. These cause great strain on the resources that the city must provide without growing tax base to cover the increased cost. With the increase of population comes overcrowding buildings and parking congestion. These create additional calls to the police department. We have increased numbers of rental properties that are not being maintained by landlords, creating an increase in complaints and violations in the code department. We recognize these are the problems. The system is broken. The process to legally handle noise complaints, blighted properties, and other violations is time-consuming and expensive. I wish the city was able to force someone to cut their grass, to paint their home, or to park somewhere else, but we can't. We cannot violate due process. It's frustrating to everyone. The people of Hazleton should be proud of what we do have here. We have one of the most aggressive and talented police departments, and the most organized and best trained fire departments in the state. There isn't a situation that we can't handle. Hazleton is a better place now than it was 4 years ago. I would appreciate the chance to continue the progress that we've made and the ability to complete the projects that I started. So I ask for your support and your vote on Tuesday, November 5th.
Thank you, Mayor. Bob, you have 1 minute.
You and I know both that crime is the major problem in Hazleton. I believe it is the #1 issue in this election, and why do I say that? Because the people are telling me so. Mr. Mayor, this is not, tells you that this is not the fact that crime is not going down. The #1 issue is to get yourself reelected. And you'll say whatever it takes to get yourself elected. Under my administration, proactive police department designed to aggressively go after the drug dealers will be the first order of business. There will be zero tolerance for drugs in Hazleton. We will form a better alliance with federal authorities to achieve this, and that cannot be accomplished with a part-time police chief. I am not blaming our police officers who bravely protect our city every day. Our police officers have been failed by the mayor's lack of leadership. The mayor is mandated by law to protect and serve your residents of the city, and I will do the best of my ability to help do that and energize our police department to just do that. The code department needs a major overhaul. The blighted properties that exist have been created by Mayor Cassatt's failure to hold our out-of-town landlords, absentee landlords, accountable for code violations. This has caused the deterioration of our buildings. On November 5th, I would please ask for your vote. Bob Yevok for mayor.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. And I thank both candidates for being with us tonight and for taking the time to debate. I also like to thank Andy Heinzman from the Standard Speaker and Paula Degnan from our WYLN News team for being here. And we thank you for watching. Remember, Election Day is November 5th. Exercise your right to vote. Thanks for watching us. Good night.